Francois, thank you very much. Checking in with him, of course, throughout live from Paris. Coming now to the second part of our debate, focusing on Tunisia. President Ben Ali is widely expected to be re-elected this weekend. Nobody would bet against it, certainly not in this studio. It's an election that has his opponents asking whether democracy exists. They don't ask this kind of question through the media in Tunisia, as that is strictly controlled by the government. That's disputed in this studio. We have a journalist from Tunisian television who says that's not the case. She has the freedom to report. On the other hand, people look to Ben Ali as their leader in Tunisia. Many have known only him in power in their lifetime. So those who don't know, it's best not to ask many searching questions, often find themselves falling foul of a human rights system that has many campaign groups raising international questions. This denied by our Tunisian MP here in the studio over what's actually happening there in Tunisia. Remember, of course, Tunisia, an economic success, a big holiday destination for people all around the world. Before we resume our debate, let's look at how the election campaign has been shaping up.
In the 7th of November stadium, tens of thousands of people cheered Zine al-Abidine Ben Ali. 35 minutes of applause aired on state television.
I stand here before you tonight to unveil my program for the years to come.
3 other candidates are campaigning. Tolerated by the regime, the men are lightweights President Ben Ali won't have trouble beating. In their meetings, they present themselves as candidates of change, but are cautious not to mention or criticize the current administration.
We are campaigning because we want a new set of political reforms and an alternative to our current economic system. We want to keep our Arab and Muslim identity.
Tunisians will vote on October 25th. International observers won't be overseeing the poll. President Ben Ali is the favored candidate. But the issue of his succession will come to a head for the 2014 presidential election. His constitutional reform fixed an age limit of 75. By then, he'll be 78.
So we'll look there at the story so far in the Tunisian election. Of course, Francois will bring you all the developments on that story. Of course, the voting on the 25th, as we pointed out there. Let's just reintroduce our guests. Joining us from Tunisian television is Ouda Zagdoudi, journalist based in Brussels. Thank you for joining us in the studio. On the other side of the plateau, Tunisian MP from the ruling party, the Democratic Constitutional Rally, Amel Boubekeur. Thank you for joining us. We're going to start the second half with Amel Boubekeur, who joins us from Beirut at the Carnegie Middle East Centre. Amel, a lot of what you said in the first half has been refuted by the MP here. We kind of expected that in many ways. What would your response be to basically, well, the MP saying that the picture you paint of Tunisia isn't a correct one?
I think that first it's very insulting, to Tunisian people and Arabs in general. You have also this discourse in Algeria and in other parts of the Arab world to say that Tunisians are not ready for a full democracy, that democracy is a process and it takes time and so on. I think that Tunisians are very mature, but they are just not interested in politics, and again, as in the rest of the Arab world. I think the real key to understand why Ben Ali has been re-elected over and over so far is linked to two main elements, two crucial elements. First, the famous Tunisian economic miracle. So it's true that Tunisia has grown steadily since this 20 past years, but at the same time, not all Tunisians have benefited in the same way of this distribution. If you look, for example, at the south and not touristic regions, I mean, they are not as developed as the north and the coastal region. That's one thing. So, but still, you have a strong middle class that has been underlined by the MP, which is very feared to lose its privileges. So, the majority of Tunisians, especially this over over consuming middle class. He's privileging economic development over political liberties. I mean, they don't understand, and they don't see, they understand, but they don't see the adding value of political liberties in the current context. That's one thing, the economical miracle. That's also the main justification for Ben Ali's power among his international partners. Tunisia is dealing with the US and the EU in terms of open market policies and so on. So that's economic stability. The second thing, and that has been mentioned also during the show, the first part of the show, is about the Islamist threat. And the Islamist threat has been presented as Tunisia's main problem for years, I mean for 20 years, which is really contrasting with the reality of the ground. I mean, you have this movement mainly represented by the Ennahda party, which is still forbidden in Tunisia, which doesn't have any more popularity in Tunisia, which has been, I mean, everybody was in jail during the 90s. Then the President Ben Ali has pardoned them between 1999 and 2008. Officially, no one is anymore in prison from the Ennahda party. But, I mean, their appeal to the Tunisian population is not that what it used to be in the 80s. But still, in 2003, I mean, the international context and the struggle against terrorism has helped the President Ben Ali also, again, to internalize reform, to internalize the international demand in order to extend its control over the society. So in 2003, he promoted an anti-terrorist law, which is reported to, for which a lot of Tunisians, young Tunisians, have reported to have been victim of. What I mean by that is that, for example, a lot of Tunisians are complaining that, for example, veil is still forbidden in public institutions. I mean, a veiled woman cannot work in public institutions. They have some problems on the street and so on. But over the question of Islamic regency or the Islamist threat, the Islamist threat is really allowing Ben Ali to extend fear over the members of Islamist parties, who are very few indeed. So Islamist threat and economic miracle are really the two main arguments to understand why democracy should take time in Tunisia.
Sorry, maybe I'm having problems hearing. Tell us those 2 points again. It's the economic miracle and
the Tunisia and the Islamist threat.
Okay, thank you. Let's get some replies from the studio. Uda.
Yes, I just want to, first of all, I want to answer and comment on what was said by your correspondent in Tunisia. She was like,
You mean Melissa Bell, our correspondent on the phone?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay,
she was talking about her equipment has been confiscated by the Tunisian authorities. Yeah. I just want to tell her that, I mean, Tunisia is a country like all other countries. It has a law, so we need to respect the law, not because we are journalists from France 24 that we are above the law. First,
you're not saying that our journalist has broken the law.
No. I mean, there are rules, so we do need to respect them.
But to take in equipment to do your job,
I don't know
allowed,
I don't know what. A camera. Yeah, you can. Maybe she's talking about SNG.
It's basically.
I know what she's talking about.
It's a big and it's the size of a laptop.
I know what she's talking about to feed. Yeah. I know what she's talking about. But there are laws, that do regulate, this kind of equipment. So she has to see that with the authorities.
Okay.
Yet we do have scores of journalists, in Tunisia, and they're covering the elections, freely covering the elections.
On the Bigan issue, we could take them into China. So.
Okay,
so we were allowed to take him into China.
China is not. It's not really a good example.
I'm just throwing that out just for consideration.
It's just like equipment. They need to have.
Sure.
They need to abide by the law. But people also they need to have a visa to come here.
Okay. I'm not trying to. I'm not saying you're lying. All I'm saying is that you pointed one thing out. I'm putting out another thing out. And it's kind of different. I'm not saying China is Tunisia and vice versa. Can I come to Emna, our MP, to talk about the issue of the economic miracle and the Islamist threat? Amel Boubekeur making the case there that this is basically the basis of your party staying in power, of you having your job.
Okay. First of all, although Amel Boubekeur is from a think tank, it seems to me that there is a lot of misunderstanding. First of all, she's saying, we said 80% of the population is middle class. And this middle class is supporting our way of life today.
Can I stop you a second? Is the economic miracle that we're talking about then helping all Tunisians? Is there, I mentioned the unemployment rates in the south 2 years ago. Is there still unemployment in the south that is not benefiting from the reforms that you're saying are in place to help make Tunisia a better place?
Well, the economic miracle is benefiting all people. I'll explain. You know that poverty has been drastically reduced to 3.8%. This is one. Before 83...
Is that 3.8% of the population?
Of the population, yes. Before 1987, only the coastal area was benefiting from the progress
because
in
it's
Tunisia.
tourism is the main driver, of course.
That's
that makes
correct.
sense.
And since the change, things have become different. Today, big projects are everywhere, including the inner areas.
Do a lot of these projects have the Ben Ali name on them? Do the Ben Alis
No.
benefit from it? That's the impression that is given.
No. This is the impression, but this is not the reality.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Put the question. You've answered the question. Thank you.
Okay. And she's criticizing the 80% population. It seems to me as if these people want to choose for us, and this is not democracy. This is against democracy. One. Two, talking about Ennahda. Let me tell you, in Tunisia, there is no place for religious parties. Okay? The constitution stipulates that parties could not be formed on the basis of gender or religion or other things. All Tunisians are Muslims. 98% of Tunisians are Muslims, Sunni Muslims, and we respect the 2% Christians and Jews. And most importantly, we would not like to see the efforts of 5 decades of progress squandered in a paroxysm of senseless violence in the name of Islam.
That point. But the point goes that there is no real opposition to the president, is there?
Well, let me explain. The RCD, true, it is a strong party. It is one of the oldest parties in the world from 1920. And the opposition in my country is new. And what is a problem really is that in these opposition parties, there is no coherent economic policies, no
You would say that because you're from the ruling party.
Well,
I've got to stop you on that one. I'm sorry,
okay.
I can't let you get away with that one. I've got to go to Amel for a final comment because we're
All
getting to the end of the programme. Thank you
Okay.
both for joining us. Amel Boubekeur in Beirut. A final comment from you. We're expecting, a Ben Ali victory on Sunday?
Everybody is. But I think you have to understand that Tunisian elections are not about competition. It's much more about standing for or against the President Ben Ali. And I think the way people in Tunisia or Tunisian official representatives are answering, are feeling threatened by any, not critics, but by any debate is really revealing of that. And you have to but indeed, and still, it's not because these elections are highly predictable that they are not interesting or that Tunisian politics are not interesting. I think the international community should focus much more on what is going on in Tunisia. And the fact that the President Ben Ali's power and authority relies much more on a police system than on military. I mean, Tunisia doesn't have a strong military like in other Arab
I have to stop you
cases.
because we're out of time. Hopefully we at France 24 can help with that focus you're talking about. I'm sorry to cut you off, Amel Boubekeur, there in Beirut at the Carnegie Centre there. Thank you for joining us. Our thanks to our two guests in the studio, our Tunisian journalist, Huda Zagdoudi, thank you for joining us, and our MP from the ruling party, Emna Ben Arab, thank you for your insight into how things work in Tunisia. So the elections on Sunday, of course, will bring you a blow-by-blow account here on France 24. Stay with us here live from Paris. Coming up is 24 Hours in France. He's a superhero to many French kids from 6 to 60. Now, Asterix himself is celebrating his 50th birthday. We'll have the latest live from Gaul. Luteci. Well, that's Roman for Paris, I'm told. Stay with us.
"20 years ago, the fall of the Berlin Wall marked the end of an era. Today, the remains of the wall bear witness to the scars of the past.
The wall was a powerful symbol. Today, throughout the world, there are other walls, be they virtual walls or ones made of concrete or stone. But this was a part of the history of Berlin, and so naturally, people are curious about what happened. You know, where the wall was and what it represented for the city.
France 24 takes you on the trail of the wall that cut Berlin and the world in half. Reporters, today, 9:45 p.m. Paris time, on France 24.
Join me for Beyond Business and a look at a new kind of war. It's not the type fought with bombs and guns, but with a click of a mouse. Cyber warfare is an emerging global threat, but do our governments have the means to fight it?
Don't miss Beyond Business, Saturday, 10:15 a.m. Paris time, on France 24.